Listen to this episode if this title resonated with you and you don't understand why you are stuck in this place. This is you. You have a wonderful product. I know right now that we are not coming at this from a fact that your product is not good. You're showing up. We're not coming at this from you are not working hard. You are doing the things that you feel like you are supposed to be doing every day. You're showing up consistently. You're doing the marketing, you're posting, you're putting in effort, and yet your sales just aren't growing the way that you thought that they should be. You're watching yourself get passed by other people in your industry. You're seeing growth happen for others, but for some reason, despite you trying everything, your growth is not just getting to this point. It feels like you have to be missing something, but you just can't put your finger on what that actually might be. If this is you, I understand why this would be frustrating because you're doing the things you think you should be doing. You just keep hearing, be more consistent. So maybe you double the amount of posts that you do a week and then you're like, okay, none of that works. So I'm just going to go back to my benchmark of what I usually do. Because from your perspective right now, you really are doing everything that you feel like you're supposed to be doing. And honestly, this is one of the most common points that many brands come to me with is that they have kind of tried everything in their own repertoire and they don't understand why their brand isn't building. They see the potential, but they don't understand why. So we're going to dive into this today. I'm first going to talk about how I look at this and how I audit this from the outside. And then we're going to dive into the 4 major pillars as to why this really happened. And by the end, we're going to pull it all together, put a shiny bow on it so you leave with some really great action items. When we look at this, like I said, I have worked with many brands at this point. I have worked with 500 businesses across 70 plus industries. I understand businesses from all stages, whether they are pre-revenue all the way up to acquisition of $50 million plus, that I have worked with businesses and really understanding all of these different stages. At the stage that you are at, that you feel like you're doing everything, no matter if you're making $5,000 or you're plateaued at $50,000 a month, it doesn't matter. If you feel like you've done everything and the growth just isn't happening for you, we're going to really dive into that here today. Before we do that, I just want to take 10 quick seconds to say hello. My name is Madison Page. I am the host of the Business Growth Podcast. I am a consumer brand growth specialist, meaning that I work with product-based business owners to help you become the next household name in your industry. I'm sure some of your favorite brands are people that I have helped get put on shelves and to build communities online. This is a lovely place to learn how to grow your product-based business and to hear conversations that you don't get to hear very often in the business world. Only 30% of you, I heard this crazy statistic, are following this podcast, even though you listen every single week. So make sure that you are subscribed to this episode, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or anywhere you listen. It helps you not have to search me up every time. It also helps other people be able to hear these conversations out there as well. So it's free. It takes less than 2 seconds for you to hit that subscribe button. I'll give you 2 seconds to do it now. And let's dive in. So first things first, when someone comes to me in this spot, you have a great product, you're working consistently, but your growth is still slow and you don't really know why. The first thing I do, not going to be a shock to any of you that have been here a while, I look at your data. Data is going to absolutely tell me the exact spot that you are having the breakdown right now. Data is kind of like the blood work of your business. It allows us to actually find the root cause of what's going on, not just guessing as to, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. First thing is we have to look at the numbers, not because numbers are absolutely everything, is the only thing you can see, but because they actually tell us where to look and what we have to start identifying. Otherwise, you never really work on the root cause if you can't identify what the actual root cause is with your data. And you can end up changing actually the wrong thing. They help us stop guessing. They help us stop accidentally actually making more problems for ourselves and actually identifying what happens. And I always want to say this, and it's the only reason I struggle with my podcast. I love my podcast. However, I am a big proponent of not giving cookie cutter business advice. And why that is because every business growth story is nuanced. And I believe your business growth advice should be nuanced as well, because different industries, different products, different stages. This is why I always start my episodes trying to clarify who this would be really helpful for, is because I'm trying to pinpoint the people within my community of tens of thousands of people that are listening to this episode to say, this is who this episode is made for. I don't give cookie cutter advice, but this is something, if you are stuck without having truly consistent sales, you're not getting sales every day, you are showing up consistently, you're doing the marketing, you're doing all of these things, but yet you don't yet have solid growth, consistent growth, momentum to build your business. I feel very solid from the experience that I have to say that these next 4 pillars are something that you really have to audit. When I see a great product, when I see this consistent effort, when I see a founder that's willing to put in the work and the effort and the money and the time, and the growth is still slow, it really does come down to these 4 things. There are 4 main areas why this happens. And so we're first going to look at that. Your first step should always be to look at your data and analyze your data and say, does this data align with the action that I'm taking? No matter what, we have to go back to the data first. But I would assume that if I looked at your data, I would come to these 4 conclusions. Looking at your data right now, I want you to look at your conversion rate. If your conversion rate is under 2 to 4%, if your add to cart rate is under 8 to 12%, depending on your industry, if your return customer rate is, above 40% or below 25%. If your sessions are high and you're getting people there, that's one bucket. The other bucket is you're not actually sending enough people to your website. If your sessions are below, let's say 2,500 a month, there's no way just from a pure numbers perspective that you can be getting consistent quote unquote sales. And honestly, I would love to see you at 5,000, 10,000 sessions a month on your website. This is going to be helpful for you. There's going to be people at all different stages of this. And so I don't want you to take, a sessions number as like Bible, that if you're making 10,000 or if you're taking 15,000, this isn't going to be helpful. It's all going to be helpful for you if your overall goal this year is to get to consistent sales. You want to have sales coming in every single day. You want to understand and have a repeatable marketing process that all you have to do is get more visibility and move people through a buying cycle. If you know that right now you're showing up on social media, you're marketing, you are trying to do these things, but yet things are not working for you, this is going to be the diagnosis that I give, I would say 80% of my clients that come into my signature program, Product to Profit. So I have these people come to me and I do all of this audit. I look at all of their data. I talk about what they're currently doing. And I would say about 80% of my clients' custom growth plans that come into my program, which is Product to Profit. It's my signature program that helps them learn everything they need to know in order to get to consistent sales in 90 days. This is at least the diagnosis that I give them, the 4 things that we decide to work on together over these 90 days. And we teach them the frameworks, we give them the resources, and we fine tune it for their business. These are the 4 major steps that most of them have to take. I'm just going to be transparent with you on that. The majority of people, we have to focus on these 4 major things in order for their brand to grow. So let's go into that. Number 1, the first big one that if you don't have this, everything else is going to be broken, is solid brand foundations. This means you need to understand who your brand is at the core. You need to have such a strong identity, and not just a visual identity, a messaging, building this kind of brand world. This isn't just logos and colors. This isn't just a couple of fonts. This isn't just a logo you slap together in Canva. This is you creating an ecosystem that when I step into your emails, your website, your socials, no matter what we're looking at, you feel like I have just transported into this alternate universe. Most brands don't fully understand what they stand for, what makes them meaningfully different, why someone should really care about their product beyond the product itself. What is this product going to do for me? What messaging does that need? And what visuals is going to wrap it all together? I would say about 90% of the brands that come to me pre-consistent sales, pre-established brand, I see are missing depth here. We have to go all the way back to what story are you telling? What are the visuals that we want to have? And how are we really going to build depth for somebody to be able to latch onto and for you to actually have solid enough marketing for any of it to make sense? That is going to make a really big difference in your brand, in your marketing, because without this, your marketing feels scattered, like you don't really know what to say. Your marketing feels kind of boring and lackluster because you're just talking about your product. Your messaging doesn't fully land with your audience to be able to really talk about the problem that you're solving or the solution that you're providing or how cool your product really is. You often feel like that like it factor is, we just talked about this on an episode a couple weeks ago, that like it factor is missing. You just feel like people don't feel drawn to you. You feel like you have to beg them. You feel like you're blending in. And when your product really should be standing out because it is really great, it is really cool, and you believe in it. And so when we're looking at brand foundations, slow growth usually starts from not understanding who your brand is at the core. I want your brand to feel like that most confident sense of self that you could possibly have within your brand. I want you to be so confident in the ethos behind the brand, the identity behind the brand, the visuals behind the brand, and how someone can really feel like they have been transported into this brand foundations. Without it, you can't even really market. You can barely market if you don't know the story behind your brand, because what are you marketing? You're just marketing the product, and that is going to exhaust people. The next one is we're going to talk about marketing, because the majority of people that are showing up consistently but not seeing growth is because that they are posting. They are not marketing. Marketing has principles. Marketing has brand pillars. Marketing has 3 different stages: mofu, bofu, and tofu. We talked about this in one of my guest episodes a couple of weeks back as well. You know, the marketing world has different stages of it. It's awareness, nurturing, getting them closer to selling. The consistency here, if you really relate to the fact that you're showing up every day and you're posting content on social media, but it just doesn't feel worth it because you get 4 likes and 20 views or 200 views or 1,500 views and nothing works better than the next. If I'm being honest, when I see that if someone's showing up but not seeing momentum, that usually tells me that they don't actually know how to market. They're posting, they're trying, they're showing up, but they don't have a system to actually tell their story. They don't have brand pillars, they don't have content pillars, and they don't have a way to actually analyze what's fully working. And I think without a marketing strategy, it's one of the hardest parts of my job is actually explaining to people what it feels like to have a strategy before really teaching you a strategy itself, because it's hard to really comprehend unless you understand it. It's like one of those skill set things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. Marketing works best when it has structure, when there are clear pillars behind what you're trying and the repetition of what you're speaking about, that there's an intention behind what you're sharing. This has to happen after you build out your brand foundations. Otherwise, you're just going to have a really neutral, not deep enough marketing strategy, because if you don't know your brand clearly, it's really hard to market well. What we have to think about here within the marketing world is when somebody has a strategy, basically what I teach is that let's just talk about your Instagram feed. On your Instagram feed, there are 4 major pillars that the average person is following. There's 4 major types of content basically that you should be posting on your Instagram feed if it's kind of like the home of your community, right? So what we do is we look at these 4 pillars for everybody, these 4 major content pillars that are pretty necessary. And we say, okay, your content for this pillar has to be about this topic. This pillar has to be about this topic. This pillar has to be about that topic. This pillar has to be about that topic. Now, all we have to do is wrap those 4 things up, come up with a bunch of different content ideas based on those, and repeat them. Marketing isn't about reinventing the wheel. It's about saying the same thing a million different ways when it starts to stick. And so people can really fully understand what you're saying. Your marketing needs to have a system behind it, needs to have a structure behind it. It needs to have pillars behind it. And then at the very end, okay, you posted those 4 pieces of content this week on all 4 of your pillars. Awesome. Love that for you. Now we have to be able to go and look at the data and say which one of these is working, which one of these is growing, which one of these is helping people sell, which one of these is helping people nurture. And now we can kind of build a repeatable strategy. When somebody says a repeatable marketing strategy, what they really mean is that you need to be able to know, okay, I'm getting closer to a launch. These are the things that I need to post. These are the topics that I need to post about in order to get this. So I want you to go look at your favorite brand out there. Somebody probably that's not like a Fortune 500 company, but look at a brand that is digital first, that is trying to grow and trying to build. And I want you to look at their feed and I want you to scroll through their past 12 to 15 posts. And when you do that, you're going to notice that there's usually common themes around what they're posting. It's because each piece of content has a different intention within the buying cycle, and they are repeating those things to achieve different results. You have to know that for your business. This is where actually having marketing principles, consumer behavior principles is going to be really helpful, because basically it helps you know that when you show up and you post, you're making sales. I know marketing feels very frustrating for many, but you're showing up right now. You're being consistent right now. You're actually putting in all of the effort. I know that you're making the videos and the carousels that take you 2 to 3 hours to make or to edit or to perfect. It's not that this is adding anything to your plate. It's just making it actually effective. So I want you to think of right now, would you still hate marketing? Would you still hate creating content if you knew every time you clicked post, you got a sale, you got 5 sales, you got 10 sales, or that you were actually growing your business? If you knew that when you pressed post, that it was helping you either get closer to making a sale or making a sale, that it's actually helping you build your business, would you still feel bummed about making content? Would you still put it on the back burner? Would you still feel frustrated about it when you knew it was actually working? Probably not. So your marketing frustration isn't at marketing. It's because you're posting right now without this structure. I would say this is the main one that I spend the most amount of time on with my clients, because it does take time. We do have to test. We have to figure out what topics make sense for you. But once we solidify this, it's no longer showing up consistently without seeing effort or without seeing growth, without seeing traction. What it is showing up consistently and then consistently seeing the momentum build. This has to happen. Marketing process, system, pillars has to happen. And pillars doesn't mean be relatable, show your face, talk about your products. Those are not pillars. We have to dive a little bit deeper into that.
Hey, I've been getting some DMs that you may not know what I do outside of hosting this podcast. I actually work with product-based business owners every single day to help them grow and scale their brand. If you really want my eyes one-on-one inside of your business to look at your strategy, to look at your funnels, to look at your data, and to develop your next campaign or bring your business or your idea to life, that is exactly what I do every single day. I've worked with 500 plus businesses across 70 different industries to help them become the next household name in their industry. If you are craving a business brain, a strategic advisor, a data-centered, obsessed person to come into your business and help you bring your idea to life, I'm your gal. Come on over to my Instagram at thisismadison page, DM me support. Otherwise, you can click the link in the show notes to apply today. Okay, back to the episode.
The next one is having an optimized website. I have a lot of websites that come to me that are okay, but they're not great. And that's why your website really isn't performing very well, is because people come to it and they don't see the necessary signals that they need in order to actually move through. So I want you, if you want to go look at your data right now, if you want to look at your add to cart rate right now on your website, it's one of the biggest markers of how effective your website actually is. Go and look at your add to cart rate. If it's not at least 8%, and if not 10, 12%, then your website probably needs some optimization. Your website should make buying so incredibly easy and identifying which product they actually want based on that information. It should be able to take a completely cold individual that doesn't know anything about your brand, send them the website, and they will get the ethos behind the brand that they need, the problem that you're solving, which products they should start with, and why it really matters for them within a 30-second browse of your website. When I look at data, one of the first things I look at is that add to cart rate. And if it is low, it tells me that we have some website optimization to do. Either the traffic that's coming is unaligned and that people don't really care, or the website isn't clearly guiding people to the right product. Because if that add to cart rate is low, what that's basically telling me is that people are coming to your site, but they don't care enough about what they see to add anything to their cart and bounce. All that they're doing is browsing. They're not finding anything and they never add it to cart. They never say, ooh, this is really cool. I want to save that if I do check out, I want that piece. And so a lot of times this doesn't require a full overhaul It can just be a messaging tweak. It can just be simplifying choices. Sometimes it's just making your menu clearer. Small changes here or there can make a big difference. I actually just talked to somebody today that was in my Founders Cafe, which is my free podcast community, and we did a hot seat coaching call. I had worked with her about 3 months ago. She did a VIP strategy week, which is basically where we one-on-one coach for 1 week, kind of like an intensive thing. And we were talking about her data. She looked at her data from where it was 3 months ago, and her add to cart rate was up over 100%. Her conversion rate was up like 50+%, which tells me we just made some small tweaks. We made some small tweaks to how people could find her products, how they were organized, and what the listings really looked like, because it felt a little confusing from the outside. We added different photos. We just kind of tweaked her actual overall process. She didn't need a new theme. She didn't need a full redesign. All we did was change the menu and the actual listings themselves of how they were listed, and over double, 2 times more effective when someone came to her website, that they were actually adding things to their cart and checking out, which tells me that the changes that we made, again, it didn't have to be a full overhaul. People were confused, and so they were bouncing. People couldn't find what they were looking for, so they were bouncing. So we just made that process much easier. And now she's at a point where her conversion rate is at a good level. Her add to cart rate was at a good level. And now she's on to speaking about and like really handling the next major gap that she has. But if she were to look at her website and say things aren't working, I'm going to change stuff on my marketing, she would forever be stuck in this cycle of like, oh my gosh, I'm marketing so hard and nobody's buying. But it wasn't actually a marketing problem for this client. It was actually a website problem that people were just confused, so they weren't checking out. We've all been there, that we saw a product we really liked and we went to the website and all of a sudden the website was awful and you left because it wasn't something that you felt like you knew what was going on enough, and you didn't have the mental bandwidth because you were buying something. You wanted it to be full of dopamine to really like dig deep into that. So website optimization is really big. So what we have with just these first 3, and we'll get onto the 4th one in a second. What we have with these first 3 is basically a organic marketing system in and of itself. You have enough foundations of like, this is what my brand is all about. This is who my ideal customer is. This is what we're selling. This is the story that my company has. So when people see you in your marketing, they can latch onto it, and we know what is helping you grow, nurture, and sell. So every time you post, you know exactly what to post. The posting takes you a quarter of the time. When you press post, you know that it's actually going to work for you and it's actually doing something for you. And you know that when somebody is activated and they want to buy, your website is actually optimized. Just sit with those 3 things right now and think of like your nervous system of how that would feel showing up in your business, how confident you would feel showing up in your business and sending people to your website if you knew that it was optimized. And again, building out your brand foundations can take you maybe a couple of hours to really solidify. Most people, we handle it in our first kind of kickoff call, just make sure it's completely solidified. So that can take an hour, maybe up to 3 if you're doing it on your own. Then we look at your marketing. You're already marketing. It's just not working. So we're actually going to cut hours off of your plate in the marketing bucket here. And your website, yes, it might take you a couple of hours, but you do it once and it should basically be good to go. We have to do it one time. And so this really shouldn't take you a ton of extra time every week. It is just showing up and doing things. You're not doing more, you're doing better. We're just making sure everything is efficient. Last but not least here, when we're looking at the 4th pillar, is that you have to have a community first approach. The last piece I almost always see missing here is the lack of a community or a relationship approach to business. If you're only focused on transactions, getting a one-time customer, growth will always feel harder because you're constantly having to acquire. And so it's expensive, it's exhausting, you have to spend more on ads all the time. And so what happens here, the brands that actually grow faster and more sustainably are thinking about retention, are thinking about repeat purchases, are thinking about referrals. All 3 of those things come from having a community-centered approach, is having an approach to your marketing that makes people feel really connected to you and your brand. What that means is that when they come in contact with you, they latch on. When they come in contact with you, they want to tell their 10 friends and they want to buy from you again and again and again. They might have bought this week, but we want them to buy again in a month. So this is when I'm looking at your return customer rate. If I look at your return customer rate and it's an unhealthy number, what that tells me is either it's too high and you can't acquire new customers, or maybe it's too low and your retention rate basically means that you're getting new customers coming in, but they're never coming back. And that doesn't tell me your product is bad. That tells me that there's a gap in your customer service, basically your customer experience. The goal is not that they just buy once. My goal is to get somebody to buy from you 10 times. And how we adjust this is on different stages in your marketing and in your buying cycle, making sure people feel very supported in these transitional moments and they feel connected to your brand. They want to tell people about your brand. And a big piece of this, again, goes back to your brand foundations, is that your messaging is so incredibly clear that they really gather what is the problem that you are solving from day one. We need to be able to get that message very clear. Again, it doesn't matter how great your website is, how great your marketing is, how much of a community you're trying to build. If you don't have those brand foundations built, it doesn't matter. The problem that I see when people are showing up consistently and things just aren't working for them is because they are too worried about transactions rather than actual relationships. And so if you feel like if you turn your ads off, you will never get a sale again, or if you stop showing up on social media, you'll never sell, or if you don't have an influencer post about you, you're not making new sales, that means to me that you are beholden to getting new customers because we can't get customers to retain. And that is an absolute massive problem. I want you to really sit and think about this. When you look at consumer brands, again, think about your favorite brand or the brand that you're constantly looking at being like, wow, I really love this. Like, this is, if I could have my brand feel like this, I love this. This is what they all have in common. Their brand feels clear and intentional and very deep from the fact of, I know what you stand for. Their marketing has structure and depth to it, to the point of really feeling like you have a full understanding of what they sell and why they do what they do. Their website makes buying so simple and so easy, and it's optimized to convert somebody that knows nothing about your business. And they actively focus on community connection. They are supporting you in this journey. You have the answers to all of your questions. In all of these transitional moments, you feel very supported, that you kind of just have this like obsessed factor that I want to come back to. I want you to pick one of your favorite brands right now. And I want you to go look at their website, go look at their social media. I want you to go look at their brand. The brand has personality and identity and a point of view. Their content has variety and meaning and texture. It doesn't feel like you're watching the same thing over and over again. It doesn't feel like you're just being sold to and you're having product pushed in your face. Their website feels polished and clear and clean. So it's really easy to know exactly what I should be buying and where do I go. Their whole ethos behind their brand, just coming in contact with their brand, makes you desire more. That's the community building. That feeling that you feel when you look at that business is not accidental. It is manufactured. It's brand building. It's marketing foundations. It's sales optimization. And there is nothing that is accidental with a successful brand. Some of these people might say that they accidentally went viral, but that was visibility. That isn't brand, that isn't marketing, and that isn't sales. Going viral and actually building a successful brand are two very different things. When you feel that feeling towards a brand, that doesn't tell me that that is an accidental feeling or that you are just intuitively called. What that tells me is that they have a really solid way of making you feel connected, making you understand, and guiding you through this process so they know exactly what to do. So wrapping this back up, looking at our initial diagnosis is you have a great product. You are showing up and you are working hard every day, but your growth is just slow. I want you to now look at this based on what we just talked about and ask yourself a couple of questions. Do you feel like your brand has personality, has an identity, has a point of view, and it's very known from the outside? Do you feel like your marketing has variety and texture and structure and meaning that's deeper than just posting and trying to be relatable and trying to put your product out there? Do you feel like you have a story that you're really selling? Do you feel like your website has been tweaked and optimized to make it super easy to check out? Those are at the very least what you need to do in order to fix this gap. And again, this is a problem that many brands have, and it comes down to just not fully having the foundational information and skill set behind business. And I'm going to record a podcast episode that's coming out soon as well. That's all about building an entrepreneurial IQ, which is basically my definition of building like a business brain. I went to school for business. I've worked in business now for 15 plus years, and my brain works in business. And it's because I have so much around business. I want you to think about whether you went to school or whether you had a 9 to 5 or maybe even being a mom, like your mom IQ for all of you out there. I want you to make a podcast for when I become a mom, because I know nothing. When you start, you take the baby home. I don't know if you're a mom, if you're listening, but if you are, you take this baby home and I'm sure you're like, what do I do now? Because you didn't have a mom IQ at that point. But as you changed a lot of diapers, went through all of these issues, you learned your mom IQ. Wouldn't it have been nice at that point to be able to say, here's a book of everything you need to know to be a mom? And people be like, oh, that is a mom IQ. It's the same thing as a business. When you start a business, many people don't come into business having an entrepreneurial IQ. You have to kind of learn it. You have to learn the playbook. Just like if you go to school to be a nurse or a teacher, there's all of these other playbooks out there for you. What we're talking about here are actual brand foundations and actual brand principles and frameworks and actual marketing principles, frameworks, and strategies, sales marketing principles, frameworks, and strategies. What we're talking about here that's missing is the actual intention behind everything that you're doing. It might feel intentional to you because you're saying, yeah, I'm trying to be relatable. Yeah, I'm trying to show my product. Yeah, I'm trying to do these things. But all of those things are I am trying to. What we're trying to do is that we have a system, a structure, and an exact kind of pillars that you need to post in order to make sure that these things happen. I just want to really let this sit with you. You don't need to work harder in order to have this done. You don't need to do more in order to fix the problem that you're feeling right now. You need refinement, clarity, intention, and a system that actually supports the growth. What you're doing right now is doing a lot of trying everything. What you need to be doing is doing the right things, not just trying everything. And I know that that's like, okay, Maddie, that sounds great, but how do I do that? Is you really do have to learn the skill set around business. It's something that I hear so often at this stage, is that you're doing everything and it's exhausting and it's frustrating. And I was you when I started my blog. I was right out of high school. I was in college. I was in school to study business, but I was early on. I was still in my gen eds and I wasn't selling anything, but I was showing up every day. I was, talking about it. I was educated. I was talking about my products. I was putting out these blog posts, but I was also on Instagram and I was talking about all of these things. And I really thought that I was going to sell. I was like, I don't know why. I've been running my family's marketing for a long time. Why were these products not selling? I couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't until I went really deep into the actual marketing principles. I was reading textbooks for fun. I was going to extra lectures that were many years ahead of me just to hear what they were talking about from the actual studying perspective of marketing. And then it started to click. I understood, buyers need X, Y, and Z to be able to feel comfortable to buy. Great. How can I put that in my website? How can I add that into my marketing? And that was when things really clicked. And this is why I'm so adamant about teaching this, is because I've seen it make a difference for me and I've seen it make a difference for hundreds of other people. And so if you are in this spot and you feel like you've been here for a long time, I just want to come at you with a lot of love and warmth, because I know that it's frustrating. I know that you're probably like, I want this to happen. It's a dream of yours is to make this happen. And a lot of times when we're frustrated at this point, that dream kind of starts to dwindle a little bit. And just know that you have everything in front of you in order to make this happen. You have a good product, you have the foundations, you have the drive. Now what you need is you need the information, you need the skill set, and you need kind of the playbook basically. And so what you're missing here are these 4 major things. You need brand foundations, you need marketing with a real strategy and real intention and real pillars. You need an optimized website that makes buying super easy. And you need a community first approach that really leads with connection and love and true support and service of your customers. Those 4 major pillars are going to change you from feeling stagnant to really soaring in your business. And I see it happen all of the time. So I hope that that was helpful for you. If you do want to learn this from me, I do actually have that course, Product to Profit. This is exactly what we teach. Enrollment is actually closing on that for a while in 2 weeks. So if you right now are saying, Maddie, I thought 2026 was going to be my year. I don't know how to make it happen. Let's make it happen together. You can come on over to my Instagram at This Is Madison page and DM me support. And I would love to talk to you about what PTP really looks like. Enrollment closes in 2 weeks. It's going to be closed for a while after that. And so if you are really wanting to get to consistent sales, you want to learn the playbook, I can teach you all of the who, what, where, when, why, and how over there, as well as it's working with me one-on-one very directly. So you get my eyes and my brain and my heart in your business to help optimize it for you. Because like I said before, your business growth is going to be nuanced. So your business advice should be nuanced as well. And that's why I only sell support that has one-on-one options throughout. And so PTP does have one-on-one calls, private messaging, and things like that you're getting in the real-time feedback. And if that sounds like something that would be supportive for you, you can either click the link in the show notes and apply. Otherwise, you can head over to my Instagram at This Is Madison page, DM me support there, and we can talk about what that might look like for your brand as well. Again, this is something that I see very often, and it really doesn't have to take, years. What you think you can accomplish in a year or 3 years or 5 years, we can accomplish very quickly with just having the right playbook. So I hope this was helpful for you, whether you are looking for support or not. I hope that you have a good kind of clarity around why you might be stuck in this same spot. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I'll see you in the next episode. Make sure that you click that subscribe button, because I know only 30% of you are subscribed right now, but yet you're typing my name in every time. This would be a great time to take the 2 seconds. It's completely free. Click that subscribe button, and it helps you not have to dig for the episodes every Tuesday and Friday. I hope you have a great day. We'll chat soon.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Growth Podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. So if you love this one, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss a conversation. If you want more conversations with me and other business owners, make sure that you join our completely free podcast community, the Founders Cafe. The link is in the show notes. You can get bonus resources, access to free coaching calls, as well as connect with like-minded business owners like yourself. Make sure that you rate and review the podcast 5 stars, share it with a friend to keep those conversations moving, and come back every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you there.